countries to industrialize in Europe, the United States, Britain, France, Germany, and elsewhere. These countries had high levels of corruption in spite of it. I'm not saying because of it, that's what people misinterpret me to be saying. These countries were able to transform. The second tier of countries to transform, like South Korea, there was a lot of corruption. Anyone who can come to my home, I have more than 50 books on the transformation of South Korea. There was so much corruption. That country developed. Today, the fastest growing economy in the world, which is rapidly industrializing, is China, and corruption in that country stinks. If corruption is the one that is stopping African countries, panelists, from transformation, what are the special attributes of this corruption particular to Africa that cause this, that stifle transformation? Really, this is a subject we must discuss. I want us to stop this conventional nonsense and discuss serious stuff. What is special about it? Most of these countries of Europe and North America, you see, they codified particular acts as corrupt or corruption in the 1920s, 1930s, 40s, 50s, long after they had transformed from being agricultural societies to modern industrial nations. Second thing I want to raise about our obsession with corruption, and I think it's a distraction, because we have things to discuss, whether foreign direct investment is what we should be looking for, whether we should be trying to build African domestic enterprises. The AU, these are talking points for you, the panelists. The AU appointed a commission chaired by the great Thabo Mbeki, former president of South Africa, and they identified that Africa loses 80 billion per year in illicit transfers. Of this 80 billion per year, only 5% is stolen by Africa leader thieves. 75%, listen, 5% by African leader thieves. 75% are illegal illicit transfers from Africa by multinational capital through transfer pricing, tax evasion, and smuggling. So Africans are busy killing each other and their leaders because they want to get the 5%. They have ignored the 75%. Please, we need to wake up. 3, these are the issues I want our panelists to discuss. And this is sad for me. I want to ask you, Africans, we need to be very honest with ourselves. Take a country like Kenya. I want to exclude Rwanda, Uganda, Nigeria, and others. If you removed corruption, which I think is the glue that holds these diverse and homogeneous, rather heterogeneous, diverse ethnic groups and religious groups together, if you removed corruption, what will hold these countries together? Please tell me. Corruption is the way the system works, not the way it fails. It is the currency or the glue that uses to hold these, to placate the interests of these diverse, very unruly and conflicting elites in Africa. So thank you so much. That is, I'm setting the ball rolling. I want to begin with my former professor of political science, my brother Julius Kiza, my grandson, since I'm 105. My grandson, Dr. Julius Kiza, please you begin with that. How do you organize a political system that is able to keep these powerful ethnic and religious elites of Africa held together? The ambassador of the United States will bear with me. The Americans, when they went to Iraq and Afghanistan and tried to build a state there, they were carrying duffel bags of money and distributing it to these Shia and Shiite leaders and bribing them. The same thing in Afghanistan. They found that corruption was the only way to keep the loyalty of Karzai and Maliki in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I envy you the audacity with which you address the topic, but I don't envy you the lack of knowledge from which you speak. First of all, our conceptualization of corruption, and don't mistake me, I'm not saying there is no corruption, is lopsided. It loses focus. When you quantify the amount of money Ndugu Andrew Mwenda and his ilk portrayed in the press, it is so much, the quantum is so much, that obliterates the fact that Uganda does not generate that kind of money. If every minister steals $1 trillion, and we are almost 80. Does Uganda generate 80 trillion per annum? No. The fact that you romanticize corruption and you take it as the platform of politics makes us lose focus of corruption. Because you bundle together the guilty and the innocent, you don't take time to investigate and hold the guilty culpable of transgression. Oh, this government is corrupt. All of them are corrupt. So when you speak like that, and some of us are innocent, then you force us into collective guilt, and we'll go onto defensive mechanism. We go into the defensive because we know we are innocent. We assume that the bad beings are also innocent like ourselves. So it becomes a collective fight. Andrew, look for those who've committed corruption. Investigate them. Bring evidence. I am glad the Inspector General of Government is here. Give her incontrovertible facts. Facts she will take to court and win cases. The Inspector General of Government is given all sorts of allegations. First of all, she does not have the manpower to follow through all of these allegations you bring forward. Give her hard facts. Improve her time management on case investigation. Then she will produce results. I'm not a computer expert, but I'm told garbage in, garbage out. So when you give the Inspector General of Government garbage, she will have to sieve through all this to get one or two cases. Secondly, those of you who have had sufficient time to live in Uganda like I have, will recall that when we still had our system, the individual merit system, accountability was at its highest. It is only then that cabinet ministers were resigning, that parliament was censuring ministers and holding corrupt officials accountable. Then people who know better than the Africans came and said we were primitive, we were not competing. For us, we knew our illness, our disease, and we knew how to handle it. And our system was working. People said, without competing for political office, we were competing. But without multi-party, without this, you are not sophisticated, you don't qualify to live in the family of nations. We said, oh, is that so? So we abandoned our thing. Since we went into multi-party politics, how many ministers have resigned as a result of corruption? Has corruption gone away in Uganda? No. How many ministers have been censured? None. Why did we abandon a working system for a system that is cosmetic, but apparently does not solve our problem? And I put it to you, Ugandans, you abandoned a system that worked, and you went for this cosmetic thing, that there must be FDC, NRM, and things are going wrong. You invited me. Now, you see, he's telling me time. Because I am telling Ugandans, you abandoned the cow that was giving milk. I'm not saying multi-party politics is not good. It's good. Competition is good. But even under our individual merit, there was competition. There was competition that was solving our peculiar problem. We abandoned it, and here we are. We are fighting corruption, and Mwenda help us, help the IGG. Investigate me. Investigate me. And my Lord, when you find me guilty of corruption, confiscate everything I've got from corrupt practices. Why not? Take everything. I'll not hold it against you. I thank you, countrymen.
If you define it legally, you will find that legal norms vary from country to country and from time to time. There are certain acts that were not considered corruption in 1920 in Britain or in the United States, which were later codified as corrupt in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So that is one. There are acts that may be considered corrupt legally, like in Uganda here, which in America may not be. If I'm a citizen of the US or a businessman there, I can register a lobby firm. It is perfectly legal for me to go and lobby Congress, contribute money to a congressman's campaign, but lobby them for a particular policy favor. So I want to say that there is no agreement. The legal norms vary from country to country and from time to time. That's one. You can also define corruption morally, which I think is the issue Ambassador Mugambaji is talking about. But even then, moral norms vary from country to country and from time to time. So it's very difficult for us to come and say this is corrupt and this is not corrupt. What are we speaking legally? Are we speaking morally? And at what time are we speaking? In view of that ambiguity, if you study different corruption codes of corruption across different countries, across different historic times, and look at the moral values of a society, let me give you a perfect example. Assuming Professor Kiza here fell badly ill, and President Museveni was informed that he's doing badly, and the president said, no, we must evacuate him, and send the presidential jet and ask the Minister of Health to raise money immediately, and he's taken to South Africa and he's cured. Would the people in Bunyoro think Museveni has acted corruptly? Actually, the president has abused his office because he's extending personal generosity at public expense to help him. That is the legal position of Uganda. But does the population of Uganda, would the Banyoro say what the president has done is wrong? So, Honorable Maria, I first want you to help me answer that, because I always see a conflict between our values as people and the laws that are codified because they are borrowed from the Western tradition. There is always that conflict that what is considered morally right and wrong at the level of the individual is not necessarily considered morally right and wrong at the level of the public ethics of the state.
I am saying that I don't know that my colleague is corrupt. But this colleague happens to be corrupt. Me, I'm upright. Now, when you say all of you are corrupt, I assume that my other friend, my other colleague who is corrupt, is also innocent like me. Because when you say you are corrupt and I'm not, I go into the defensive mechanism. In the process of defending myself, I also defend the other corrupt person because I'm not aware of their corrupt transgressions. So I'm saying, what I was saying, young man, what I want you to know is that if you are going to choose somebody, have a credible iota of evidence. Have a credible iota of evidence.
He who alleges must prove.
Yes, he will. No, you don't even have to prove. Because, like, I happen to have a personal experience of having worked in the Congo. And I was accused of stealing diamonds and stones, and they were called stones. I asked this presiding judge, I said, but if I was going to steal stones, were there no stones in Uganda? He said, these were precious stones. And I told him, I said, but I tell the difference between precious and not precious, because I'm not a diamond miner. Now, the long and short of it is when the report was being written, the judge said, as for this, there was no iota of evidence, credible or incredible. Credible or incredible, iota of evidence. So if you are going to accuse somebody of corruption and you want to root out corruption, have evidence. Because if you accuse Otafire, you accuse Mwenda, you accuse Honorable Yagonja of corruption, and nothing comes out of it, then your allegations become stories. It becomes the usual sing-song. Bring incontrovertible evidence. Let's pin the culprit, 2 or 3, at least we catch one. Then when it is repeated often, people will realize that there is a serious fight against corruption by the office bearers and the public.
Okay.